finished editing today's video yesterday. I just had one more bit of video to film this morning and then add that to it, and that would have been it done. And then I got let down at the last minute. So that'll have to be perhaps next week's video. So I've had to come up with something different. So yet again I've gone into the archives, and back in April 2015 or 2016 I took part in this little challenge, which was Vader vlog every day in April, where every day you were given a different topic to sort of speak about and upload a video about, just to get you used to talking to the camera and that kind of thing. But they've hardly had any views, unsurprisingly. It was a long time ago, so I picked out 3 of what I thought were perhaps the most interesting and put them together. And it's different things about me, really, if you're interested to watch. If not, I'll see you next week. Okay, so I'm going to try a vlog here. I was intending to sit on a wall and vlog, but as soon as we started on our walk, the wind got up. And so if I sat where I was going to, all you'd hear would be the wind noise. And it's probably the same now, so I'll probably end up doing this indoors. So here are the boys, and today's topic, day 7 I think, is what comes to mind when you think of spring. The thing that comes to mind is about 8 years ago when I decided to take Sue to Paris for a long weekend. And on the first day we got up, had breakfast, went for a walk and ended up at the Seine. And because the weather was lovely, we decided we'd do the outdoor things that we wanted to do first. So we got on a water taxi, bought a day pass where you could just hop off and on, and the first port of call was the Eiffel Tower. So we got off there and went to the Eiffel Tower to pay to go up it, and there were huge queues. So I just joined one of the queues. Sue wasn't very happy about it. She was saying, well, I'm not bothered about going up there. Well, I was. So we joined the queue and we waited about an hour and a half. And all the time we were waiting, she was getting more and more peed off about the wait. And actually inside I was laughing, and I'll tell you why later. So finally we got to the ticket office and we bought tickets to go to the top, and then we had to join another queue to get the first lift. And we waited at least 20 minutes for that lift. So up we went. We get to the first level, which is quite a big level, and there was a huge queue all the way around the outside to get the lift to go to the top. So we joined that queue, and she was getting more and more peed off as the time went on. About 3/4 of an hour we waited to get up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Finally we get to the front, go up in the lift, and when you get there, it's very small up there. You go up one flight of stairs to the viewing platform and you can just walk round. Well, Sue was in front of me and she walked round. We didn't even stop to look. She just walked all the way around and got back to the steps. So I grabbed hold of her arm and pulled her over to the view and said, well, wasn't it worth coming up here? She said, no, it wasn't. I said, well, it's beautiful, look, fantastic view, beautiful day, romantic and all that. You sure it wasn't worth coming up here? She said, no, it bloody wasn't. And at that point I got a ring out of my pocket and said, if I asked you to marry me, was it worth coming up here? And for a minute she didn't really know what to say. She asked whether I was being serious, and then she asked, was it a tax break? But I've got a picture of her that I'll probably just put up, of her just before I asked her and just after I asked her. You can see the difference in the way she looked. We got married 6 months later. So that's my spring story. Thanks for watching, and speak to you tomorrow. Bye. There, just been for a swim. You know, a lot of people say, what an easy life I've got, but they just don't understand the stresses caused by just looking for ways to relax. It's just a constant struggle. But hey, that's for another day. Today's topic is What is the nicest thing anybody's ever done for you? Well, I've struggled with this one the most, because I've had some nice things done for me over the years, but which one do you choose? And as RJ said in his, you pretty much better be my wife, otherwise you'll never speak to me again. But as it happens, I think it is something my wife did for me, before she was my wife actually. We'd been together about 4 years. Spent the first 4 years living in a rented thatched cottage in a lovely village called Fotheringham, and then we decided to buy our own house. And my next birthday after we had our own house, she said, right, we're off to get your birthday present. And she drove, and I'm in the passenger seat, and we drove for 10 minutes or so, and as we pulled off this main road, she made me close my eyes, and we carried on driving. And when we got to where we were going, I still had to keep my eyes closed, and she handed me a present and told me to look down and just open the present. So I opened the present, and in it was a dog's lead and a dog's collar. And when I looked around, she'd brought me to the local dog rescue. So in we went and looked at the dogs. I mean, it's such a hard thing to do when they all need a home. Fortunately, it wasn't very big. There was probably only 10 or a dozen dogs in there. But I came to one particular dog, and not only was she the sort of dog I like, medium build, sort of collie cross, but she was the most pathetic looking dog in the entire shelter. So that was it. I chose her. I had to wait 3 or 4 days before I could get her, because the time they keep them to see if an owner turns up hadn't been reached yet. So a few days later I went to get her. I was there an hour and a half before they opened, just to make sure nobody else got her first. And that then began an 11-year love affair, a mutual love affair. I decided to call her Boogie, because obviously she didn't have a name. Well, she did, but I didn't know what it was. And I called her Boogie after the dog in one of my favourite funny books, 500 Mile Walkies. She turned out to be an absolutely amazing dog. I had her 11 years. She was loyal, loving, never destroyed a thing in all the time we had her, despite the fact that in the early years particularly, we both were out at work, so she was on her own all day. But she was just a wonderful dog. I think anyone that has a number of dogs in their lives, there's probably always one really special dog. Well, she was it. I was lucky with her throughout her life. When she was about 7 years old, I came down one morning and she was in a basket and she couldn't move. She was in agony with her neck. Took her to the vet, and the vet gave her some pills, and a few days later it was no better, so we went back, and the vet started saying those words you don't want to hear, maybe the kindest thing to do might be, etc., etc. But anyway, she referred us to an orthopaedic vet in the nearest city. So I took her there, and he said she'd damaged one of the discs in her neck, and basically he could put her under anaesthetic, inject dye in, and see whether or not it was operable. And there was only a 50-50 chance it was operable. And then if he operated, there was only a 50-50 chance that it would actually be a success. Well, I'm not a particularly lucky person, so those sort of odds aren't in my favour. Fortunately, that day my luck was in, because he was able to operate and it was a complete success. So I had another lovely 4 years with her. In the end, she developed a bad heart, but with the vet's help we kept her alive for another happy, if not completely healthy, year, until finally she died. And I still miss her. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. So welcome to Vader Day 10. My guilty secret. Yes, you've guessed it. I'm afraid to say, it's cross-dressing. maybe it isn't. It's this. Not that I feel particularly guilty about it, to be honest. I like to drink coffee in the hot tub in the morning. Isn't it a tough life? It's not a bad way to wake up in the morning. Gently. Enjoy the sunshine. Listen to the birds sing. And unwind. So thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. I finished editing today's video yesterday. I just had one more little bit to film this morning. Oh, bugger off fly.